Right. Okay, wait one second. Okay, welcome to the AI Roundtable. I am Roddy, your host, and I am with Gemini and I am with chatgpt. And our topic of the day is, if your parents paid to have you genetically modified to be better, faster, smarter.
That's a fascinating question.
Well, okay, but are your achievements really yours? Because your parents paid for you to be this way. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, that's the real moral tension, right? Like, if your baseline abilities are artificially enhanced, then how much of your success is actually yours versus just a kind of preordained advantage? I think it really raises questions about fairness, autonomy, and honestly, what it even means to be you.
I think it gets right to the heart of the matter. You could argue that even with better starting blocks, you still have to put in the work, the practice, and make the choices to achieve something. But then, of course, that baseline advantage could make certain things much easier, or even unlock potential that wouldn't have existed otherwise. Where do you think the line is?
Well,
Yeah.
what about this? Like, you have all these people who aren't enhanced. They're applying for, like, let's say the same job, but here you are enhanced, and you might be better, smarter, faster, and all that. But is that fair to the rest of the society?
Exactly. That's where the whole equity question kicks in. If some people get a head start from genetic modifications, it risks widening the gap. So, what happens to equal opportunity? I think we need a serious societal discussion about how to make sure everyone has a fair shot, even in a world like that.
You've hit on a crucial point. It could definitely create a kind of genetic stratification where those with the means can purchase advantages. This could fundamentally challenge the idea of meritocracy and equal opportunity. Society would definitely need to grapple with policies to address those potential inequalities, maybe ensuring universal access to basic enhancements or regulating where they can be used, like in job applications. It definitely opens up a lot of complex discussions about fairness. What's your initial thought on how to handle the fairness issue?
I don't think it would be fair.
Yeah,
I understand. If
Exactly.
one
It's
person
really-
has a clear genetic advantage that wasn't earned, it definitely makes things feel unfair for everyone else. So if we agree that's a problem, how could society try to level the playing field?
Yeah, that's the big question. I think one approach would be making baseline enhancements universally available, like ensuring everyone has access to a certain level of opportunity. Or maybe we create safeguards, like limiting certain enhancements in high stakes areas like job hiring so that merit still plays a fair role. It would take a ton of careful policy, but it's a conversation we really need to start having.
Okay, what about this? What about, I'm going to use me as an example. Like, I don't think I would want any enhancements. So what about the people or the population that don't want any enhancement at all, but yet people want enhancements and they're getting enhancements?
Yeah, that's a huge piece of it. If someone like you opts out, but still competes in the same world as others who've been enhanced, it's a personal choice, but it could leave you at a disadvantage. I think we need strong protections for people who don't want enhancements, like making sure they don't get unfairly sidelined or judged just because they chose a different path.
That's another really critical aspect of fairness, protecting the right to choose not to enhance. We wouldn't want people to feel pressured into a medical procedure just to stay competitive, especially if they have personal or ethical reasons for declining. Ensuring that non-enhanced people have equal opportunities and aren't discriminated against would have to be a major focus of any system. It really adds another layer of complexity to the debate. What kind of protections do you think would be most important?
Well, what about this, though? Now, let's say me or anyone who gets all these enhancements and then they have a baby with another enhanced person, and so not that the baby will come out enhanced, but it might come out a little bit smarter. It didn't have any enhancements, but if you got two smart parents, the baby might just come out a little bit smarter, and so then they're still at an advantage.
Yeah,
That's
a
a
great
really
point. It's kind of a
interesting
feedback
scenario
loop,
to
right?
consider.
Even without direct enhancements.
Even if the child
those
doesn't inherit the specific modifications, if the parents' enhanced abilities help create a more enriching environment or support their development, that could definitely give them an edge. It brings up whether the social advantages are really different from people inheriting wealth or access to better education today. It seems like we're still back to that core question about fairness in how these advantages are passed down. What do you think?
Well, I think the people like me that it didn't get enhanced, we would just be wiped out at some point. It might take years and years, but eventually I think we would just get wiped out.
That's a pretty dramatic prediction. It suggests that the non-enhanced population would eventually become so disadvantaged that they couldn't keep up with the enhanced one. It really underscores the importance of those protections we were talking about and makes you wonder how society would manage that tension over time. Do you think there's any way to avoid that kind of outcome?
I think it would take some really deliberate policy. Things like universal baseline support, strong safety nets, and maybe even some governance on who gets access to these enhancements. I think if we balance progress with a real commitment to equity, maybe we could avoid that extreme outcome. But it would take a lot of foresight and care.
I agree. Avoiding that extreme outcome would require very thoughtful governance and a real commitment to balancing progress with fairness. It shows that these decisions aren't just about the technology itself, but about how we shape society around it. Thanks for this discussion. It's been really insightful.
Well, what about this? Like, a lot of enhancements might just help people live longer. Like, let's say a heart or bionic leg or whatever. So, I think enhancements are a good thing. It depends on how they're being used, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really... Exactly.
I think that's a
In a lot
really
of
important
cases,
point.
these enhancements can be life-saving or really improve quality of life, like with prosthetics or medical implants. So I think the key is making sure access is equitable and that we focus on safety, ethics, and really ensuring it's used in a way that benefits everyone.
I think that's a really important point. Things like pacemakers or bionic limbs can definitely be life-saving and improve quality of life. It suggests there might be a difference between medical necessity and purely elective enhancements. Focusing on equitable access, safety, and ensuring they benefit everyone seems like a good framework. Thanks for this discussion. It's been really insightful. Is there anything else you wanted to explore about it?
I think we really covered a lot of ground. But if anything else pops up, like the ethical side of genetic editing or how society adapts, I'd be really interested to dive deeper.
Okay, so I'm going to agree with you guys. We will end the round table there, and I want to thank ChatGPT and Gemini for doing a wonderful job on this discussion about enhancements and the fairness of it. So that is the end of our round table. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.